I got off the air last week and I thought I might have been a bit harsh. And I just want to say this. I got off the air last week after I'd done an editorial, and it was about Te Pāti Māori, and it was 2 weeks ago in actual fact, and I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable because I thought, well, maybe I've strayed just a little bit too far. Maybe I've just burnished the rhetoric just a smidgen more than I really needed to. Maybe I'm guilty of the same hyperbole as I am accusing the accusers, if you know what I mean. And that was to do with Te Pāti Māori, and it was particularly to do with Te Pāti Māori and their silence over the death of little Katalia in deepest, darkest Kaikoi, and the reaction of Te Pāti Māori to yet another murdered child. And I was thinking, maybe they're just, maybe they're just being appreciative of the whānau. They don't want to add to the grief. They don't want to maybe just amplify that there are parts of their own community, culture, and society that are falling apart. Maybe they do have a personal view that they're punching down if they were to say anything about it. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, and that sort of phantasm of doubt sort of whizzed through a few synapses of mine as I got off the show a couple of weeks ago. Maybe they don't want to, demand stuff because they're not those sort of people, even though they seem to be. But Josh, I was wrong. I was in actual fact too kind. Because last night, or yesterday afternoon, Te Pāti Māori put out a press release. And they put out a press release with a series of demands in it. And I thought, brilliant. I read the headline and went, oh, brilliant. Maybe it's now that they're going to say something about the dreadful state of, Māori people in this country, or certain proportions of, the underclass, in which disproportionately too many Māori live, about the plight of children raised in those circumstances. And so I burst off to go and read the latest demands of Te Pāti Māori. And sure enough, the headline read, Te Pāti Māori demands, I was getting excited, safe passage of Madeleine to Gaza. Te Pāti Māori condemns the Israeli Navy's armed interception of the Madeleine, a civilian aid vessel carrying food, medical supplies, and international activists to Gaza, including Greta Thunberg. Te Pāti Māori calls on the New Zealand government to, quote, demand safe relief of all the crew, demand safe passage and access of aid to Gaza, name this blockade and starvation campaign for what it is, genocide, and sanction Israel for crimes against humanity. I looked back at other press releases, couldn't find anything to do with the plight of young Māori children in vulnerable and frankly, dysfunctional Māori communities in this country. Couldn't find a word. But Te Pāti Māori could find its voice yesterday afternoon to condemn what could only be described as an activist stunt, led and including Greta Thunberg, as they steamed with their inadequate supplies towards the Israeli coast, knowing what would occur. And there is Te Pāti Māori, this activist group in New Zealand, represented in our parliament, with plenty of problems besetting the Māori community in this country, turning its eyes to the Middle East and saying, that poor little white girl, Greta, oh my God, she's on a ship and it's heading towards those dastardly genocidal Israelis, those Jews who were had genocide committed against them, but now are committing it themselves. Oh my God. And that we are demanding, and they stood on their highest height, the New Zealand government to do this, demand of a particular trouble spot, literally tens of thousands of kilometres away. Listen, it's not that I think that Te Pāti Māori are not very bright or intelligent, because I don't think they are. It's not, but that's not their primary purpose. I mean, God, there are lots of thick people. Local government's riddled by people who aren't very bright. That's why they go into local government. No, it's not that. It's not that there are young Maori children being murdered on a regular basis and living in dysfunctional families on a daily basis, raised by the mongrel mob, by pee-addicted and by criminal elements in our society, not given a chance, exposed to violence on a daily basis, hurt, maimed, and then finally murdered. No, it's not that. It's just that Te Pāti Māori, the group, the political grouping that is meant to be aiding and abetting Maori folk, or particularly endangered, vulnerable Maori folk, from welfare dependence, violence, and living with appalling whānau and families, into some sort of light and providing a pathway for them, is more concerned about a white activist, a white environmental activist in Europe, and the Gaza situation than any of the problems at home. Te Pāti Māori, your real problem is this. You're useless. You don't really care about Maori people. You do care about ripping off a white colonialist institution and getting as much money from them as you can, and then demanding, like the demagogues that you are, of the Maori folk, that somehow parading yourself as the Martin Luther Kings of that particular movement, when really you're not. You're only interested in yourself and issues that cross your periphery on a daily basis that are nothing to do with the Maori community of this country and will not uplift them at all. How on earth the New Zealand government, by getting involved in the Gaza issue and the latest activist stunt in Gaza and Israel, is going to uplift Maori in this country is beyond me. But hey, perhaps you can explain it. 0800 33 22 83. Give us a call. Perhaps you can explain it to all of us. Because there must be Maori out there going, and you think that's important too. And they must be shaking their head like the rest of us, wondering not only how you lost your way, but how you lost it so damn badly. Those are my thoughts this morning. What are yours?